Greetings friends, and welcome to Captain Samuel's Electric Leisure Dome. Recently, a retro video game store opened an hour away from my home. I made the trip to check out the store, hoping to find some Game Gear games for my collection. Excited, I strode up to the counter, introduced myself to the store owner, and asked if he had any Game Gear games. Game Gear games? Was his response. I replied, yeah, games. For the Sega Game Gear. The store owner stared into space and then said, we might have some of those. What do the games look like? So I stood there in the middle of this retro video game store, explaining what Game Gear cartridges look like. He still didn't know, so he called up the store's other owner and also Googled it. Finally, under a pile of stuff on the floor behind the counter, he produced a shoebox with a few Game Gear games in it. None of them had prices, so of course he looked up the price online and wanted to charge me eBay prices for them. I left without buying anything, and I don't plan to visit that store again. You see, the retro gaming community needs to know about the Game Gear and its many worthwhile games. My mission with this channel is to help spread the word so that nobody else has to go into a retro gaming store and be met with a blank stare when asking about Game Gear games. The term hidden gem is used all the time on YouTube, often to describe the same NES games that are supposedly hidden gems but have been covered over and over again. If you want real hidden gems, if you want to penetrate to the esoteric mysteries of game collecting where a few have explored, stick with me and my beloved, yet overlooked Game Gear library. It's the system I grew up with, and I can guide you to its secret riches. We're going to be doing just that today, my friends, with a review of Jurassic Park on the Game Gear. It might look like just another licensed game based on the popular movie, but dig deeper and you will discover a stylish, well-made 2D action platformer. Jurassic Park is, of course, based on the popular 90s movie. As a boy, I loved reading about dinosaurs, and can even tell you that many of the dinosaurs in the movie aren't actually from the Jurassic period of prehistory.
Very astute.
It was also noteworthy for pioneering the use of computer-generated special effects, bringing the dinosaurs to life in a way no other movie had before. So when the game came out, I purchased it eagerly. This is my childhood copy of Jurassic Park. It's squished and scuffed, but still complete. The box and manual cover features the Jurassic Park logo over jungle foliage during a sunset. The sunset colors nicely match the pink Game Gear box color scheme. The back of the box is clearly written. It recaps the story of the dinosaurs breaking free at the park, but modifies the plot to incorporate the video game's goal of recapturing the dinosaurs. The bullet points outline the game's strengths, starting with the variety of level environments and, of course, the variety of dinosaurs. It also briefly describes the various armaments the player can use to incapacitate the dinosaurs, which separates the game from other 2D platformers where jumping on enemies is the way to dispatch them. The text then describes the alternate game mode that precedes each 2D action platformer level. This alternate game mode is an on-rails gallery shooter. The screenshots also do a great job of selling the game. The Brontosaurus pic shows how intricate and lifelike the sprite work is in this game. It also shows some samples of the interesting level set pieces, a fight with the Pteranodon in the treetops, and crossing a forest fire during a hurricane. It also shows a scene of the alternate game mode where the player defends the Jeep from attacking dinosaurs. It's a well-designed box overall that sells the game nicely. The manual opens with the story, which loosely follows the movie. Scientists have regenerated dinosaurs using genetic technomancy and plan to display them for profit in a dinosaur zoo. The computer system that controls the electric fences containing the dinosaurs malfunctions, and the dinosaurs break free. You play as Dr. Alan Grant from the movie, and it's your job to recapture all the dinosaurs using non-lethal armaments. If you succeed, the park reopens. This is a more video game friendly retelling of the movie's plot because it gives you an optimistic goal to achieve, rather than just surviving and escaping, as in the movie. The controls are all straightforward, with running, jumping, and firing. The player has a few extra moves that add some depth to the gameplay. The player can grip the bottom of any platform to brachiate beneath it. If you don't watch the Wildcrats like I do, brachiation means moving hand over hand while hanging, basically like crossing monkey bars. The player can also crouch and crawl. For the segments where you protect the Jeep with a mounted minigun, the D-pad moves the crosshair around on screen, and both buttons 1 and 2 fire the minigun. Remember that, it will be important later. The next pages recap the story again for some reason, and finally discuss the gameplay loop. It's a bit like Mega Man 2 actually, a favorable comparison, especially for a licensed title. You can select which of the first 4 levels to complete in any order you like. All levels start with the Jeep sequence, where you move crosshairs around the screen to shoot dinosaurs that are chasing after the Jeep. After the Jeep sequence is over, you go to the 2D action platformer section of the level. You have a pause menu where you can select one of 3 different weapons, or use a medkit, which is a consumable item that refills your health. The manual then describes the 3 weapons the player has for the entire game. The tranquilizer rifle, concussion grenade, which behaves more like an airburst rocket launcher, and fireball grenade. It points out that each weapon is better in certain situations and against certain dinosaurs. This is true, which adds depth and thinking to the combat. The power-ups are also listed. The ones to note are the fuel can and medkit. The fuel cans only appear during the Jeep section at the start of the level. Each fuel can extends your maximum health for that level. The medkits are like the E-tanks from Mega Man 2. You can use them from the pause menu to refill your health. Next, the manual describes the dinosaur opponents in the game. It's supposed to read like an encyclopedia page, but I think some pictures from the game would have made it more interesting. It then describes the 5 levels associated with the boss dinosaurs that need to be captured. These levels are unique and full of dynamic environmental hazards, which the manual hints at in the level descriptions. Up next on the list of things that make this game more than your typical junk licensed game, but a true hidden gem, win conditions with multiple endings. Yes, while completing the first 4 levels, if you lose all your lives and use a continue, the game ends after level 4 and you get the bad ending where Jurassic Park doesn't open. But if you complete the first 4 levels without using a continue, then you can attempt the final 5th level, which is the visitor center where the T-Rex is running amok. If you beat the 5th level, then you earn the good ending where the park reopens. There are several useful tips to close out the manual, but the one that's most important is the tip about saving your medkits. It may be possible to do it otherwise, but I've never been able to beat the T-Rex final boss without taking a ton of unavoidable damage, so I recommend saving all your medkits for the final showdown. So, that's the manual, on to the gameplay. You begin on the map of the island and can select one of 4 stages to complete: Pteranodon, Triceratops, Velociraptor, or Brachiosaur. The Triceratops and Brachiosaur levels are easier and simpler than the Pteranodon and Velociraptor levels, but you can do the first 4 levels in any order you want. Once you select the stage you want to challenge, the level begins with the Jeep chase. A Jeep zooms along while dinosaurs pop in to attack it. The Jeep has a mounted machine gun which fires wherever the crosshairs are pointing. Your performance on the Jeep section affects your experience in the 2D action stage that comes next. If you get one or both fuel tank power-ups, then you have some extra maximum health points for that level. If you beat the giant dinosaur boss at the end of the Jeep section, then you start the 2D action stage with full health. If your Jeep is destroyed, then you start the 2D action stage with low health. The dinosaurs are quick, so you have to be fast too. When the Jeep drives over road debris, it jostles your aim, which makes hitting the dinosaurs tricky. Each Jeep section has a different set of dinosaurs to battle and a different boss. The gorgeous backgrounds are all different too. Take a look at those multiple layers of parallax scrolling. A theme you're going to hear me repeat in this review is how beautiful this game's visuals are. Finally, at the end of the Jeep section, you fight a boss dinosaur. The bosses absorb a ton of shots and require rapid button mashing to defeat. Okay, so for the bosses on the Jeep section, there's two ways that you can fire the Jeep's machine gun. The first is you can just use one finger on a button like this. And that works pretty good. But remember that I said in the manual, both button 1 and 2 fire the machine gun. So what you can do is use two fingers and go back and forth like that. And it works a lot better if you make like a minigun noise. So don't forget the minigun noise, that's important. It's like this. These bosses are real bullet sponges, so you gotta do the minigun noise. And there we go. That's how you do it. Jeep section. After the Jeep section is the 2D action portion of the level. The player explores a variety of environments, hunting for power-ups and trying to reach the dinosaur boss for that stage. Some sections have a familiar left to right design, while other sections have multiple paths and secrets to find. This makes navigating the levels engaging and fun to explore. The only downside is the last level though, the Visitor Center. That level is a confusing maze of doorways with respawning enemies. What makes the level stand out is the variety of environmental hazards and set pieces. You navigate a thunderstorm where lightning starts a forest fire. And the lightning can also strike the water, electrifying it. There's cliffs where pterodactyls soar and the ground crumbles below you. Lava eruptions that destroy bridges. Boulders that crash down mountainsides. With so many obstacles and environments to navigate, each level feels distinct and keeps the gameplay fresh. The dinosaurs are also incorporated into the environmental hazards too. Malfunctioning gates pop open to reveal raptors. Brontosaurus herds must be stunned and avoided. And dinosaurs smash their head through the wall to bite at the player. The variety of dinosaurs further contributes to the sense of novelty and fun. The Dilophosaurs spit acid at the player. Gallimimus burst from the bushes in a panic and run around. Pterodactyls nest and swoop around inside the power plant. Green raptors leap at the player from the water. After navigating the level, the player encounters the boss dinosaur they need to capture. Each boss feels distinct from the others and takes place in an engaging environment. I especially like the Pteranodon boss fight, where you slowly ascend the jungle canopy and need to watch your footing. No game is perfect, however, and in fairness it must be said that two boss fights are underwhelming. The T-Rex has unavoidable damage, and the raptor will retreat after you stun it, allowing for a comically simple boss battle. I find the difficulty of Jurassic Park to be easy, but I consider that a good thing for several reasons. First, the Game Gear is a portable system, and Jurassic Park can be completed in about half an hour. Second, the Game Gear library is rife with crushingly brutal, nearly impossible games. We've seen a few rugged games on this channel already, such as Sonic 2 and Robocop 3. As a kid, I found it delightful and refreshing to play a game that was actually a reasonable challenge. If you are looking for a harder challenge, try the Master System version, which I also own. The versions are almost identical, except that the player sprite actually looks like Dr. Grant in the Master System version. There's more dinosaurs, and they deal double damage, and many enemy behaviors have been adjusted to be more dangerous. In addition, some level obstacles have been rearranged to be more hazardous. I've mentioned before how gorgeous this game looks. Parallax scrolling in the backgrounds, detailed sprites, vibrant colors, and the presence of opening and closing cutscenes give the game a cinematic feel appropriate for a game based on a visually groundbreaking film. The sound and music are great too. It's a mixture of exciting and ominous pieces that match the action well. The music also changes with in-game events, which contributes to the cinematic feel of the game. For example, the Jeep section starts with upbeat, exciting music, and when the boss dinosaur shows up, the music changes to a more serious, brooding tone. Overall, Jurassic Park for Game Gear is a gorgeous game with catchy music, interesting level set pieces, and fun gameplay. It follows the movie well and is the best game based on a licensed IP that I have ever played. I give it a rating of S. Best of all, it's a true hidden gem, and available on eBay for cheap. I wholeheartedly recommend picking up a copy for you to enjoy. Thanks for watching.